Everyone. So Western Conference executives say Lakers are reluctant to give Anthony Davis a contract extension. They entered the summer with AD on the back burner. A Western Conference exec told The Heavy they would like to keep it there, keep that extension on the back burner. They do not need to do it right away. I'd say they're reluctant, and you can understand that at this point. Also added, they want to see if Davis can stay healthy. The executive said they want to see if this group continues to be what it looked like it could be down the stretch last year. And most of all, they want to see what LeBron James does next. But they have had some things break their way in free agency with Reeves and Russell. They have a lot of manageable contracts, good assets. There's no contracts on the books that you'd say they could never trade that one. There's no Russell Westbrook this time around. So if you can take a chance and get Davis to extend on something that is not the max, if you get him signed a deal that recognizes that the market might not be great for a guy so injury prone, it is worth taking the risk. So Anthony Davis is eligible for an extension. This is something that has been sort of speculated and talked about going into even last season. Like, what are the Lakers going to do? What direction are they going to go? Anthony Davis showed that even through some injuries, he's able to play. He can fight through it. He can stay healthy through a playoff run, as he did in the Lakers' most recent playoff run. That was huge for just his future, right? And when it comes to Anthony Davis, he is still one of the top talents in the league. And on some nights, looks like the absolute best player in the league. I mean, both sides of the ball, the way he's able to impact, he had a defensive player of the year level, like historic defensively type play in the playoffs and in stretches last year. He had like that month stretch where he was clearly like, man, this guy could be the best player in the league. Problem is lack of consistency, right? One night he's 30, 15, and 3 or 5 or something crazy like that. And then the next game he's like 10 and 7. And even though he was leading the playoffs in like rebounds, defensively, he was statistically the best defensive player in the league last year. He also led the league in 30 and 15 games, as well as 35 and 15 games. So there's no doubting his talent. Problem is he is yet to shown he can be the guy, right? And that's a real problem. The Lakers have a lot of great young talent, have a real bright future ahead of them. They genuinely do. I really like what we're seeing with guys like Max Christie really stepping it up. The new rookies in Lewis and Chafino, they've been looking really well and show a lot of promise for rookies. And then you have, of course, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell. I know some people aren't as high on him, but I do think he's a very talented player that could help out a lot. And you got Jared Vanderbilt, right? The list goes on and on. They just got Jackson Hayes this year, Cam Reddish. That gives them 2 more young core pieces that they could have beyond this season. The Lakers are really putting together a nice, deep, talented roster to put around LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And now, look, Anthony Davis is going to miss 30-plus games next year. That's just kind of what the norm is and what to expect. But, I mean, most stars nowadays miss 20-plus games, right? I mean, look across the board. There's very few players nowadays, like star-level players, that play anywhere close to 82 games, right? Usually they miss at least a couple handfuls, if not, couple people's handfuls, right? So Anthony Davis, you can expect and lock up for 30-plus games. Now, even with that, it's not a big deal with the talent and the roster that they have. But what happens when LeBron James leaves? That's the real concern. Now, if the Lakers can go and get another star, right? LeBron leaves, and immediately within a year or two are able to get another star, and now you got that star, Anthony Davis, and this young core. That would be brilliant, right? Or maybe one of these young guys starts developing into a star. But even then, if that's the case, right? Like let's say Max Christie is just continues. I mean, he's taken huge strides. Let's say he takes even more, and the dude is just balling, right? And it's like, man, all right, like this is our franchise guy. Here you go. Can you rely on him? And at 22 years old, with him and Anthony Davis to lead this roster to an NBA championship? I don't know, right? The question, they're not just going to let AD go just to let AD go, right? It's not going to happen. And like the article and the report said, if they can get him on a cheaper deal, right? Like, hey, we're not going to give you the full max. Let's give you something, but we're not going to give you the full max. We're going to bring you back on a cheaper deal so we have some flexibility for the future. That would be a home run. Will that happen? Probably not. He's probably going to want the max. It's how it goes. But he needs to hold up his end of the bargain, right? If they get into the playoffs and they lose in the first round and you're the Lakers and LeBron wants to leave, do you really give Anthony Davis a max contract? Do you really look at Anthony Davis as like the piece for your future? Like, this is your guy that you can build around, and with him and this young core can win you a championship. You're just a piece away, right? Like, go get another star and that's it. We're contending for NBA championships, right? When LeBron leaves. If it doesn't look like that, if you're the Lakers, do you just look to trade him? Do you look to move him? Do you run the risk of like, hey, we might lose him for nothing, or we don't believe he's that guy? Do we go and try to make a trade to get some more young assets, or maybe go get that disgruntled star? Maybe there is a team, maybe just throwing this out there, but let's say Joel Embiid wants out, right? And they have a young core. Do they look at it and go, man, like, we don't want to have to rebuild? And it's like, well, we can swap AD for Joel Embiid, right? And maybe get a first or something out of it, and then boom, like, there you go, and now both sides are happy. Again, not saying that will happen, but just using an example. Like, maybe the Lakers can flip Anthony Davis into a disgruntled star. Every year, there's a star or several that end up wanting out and end up wanting gone. I'm not saying that the Lakers should trade Anthony Davis, but if it comes to that, push comes to shove, then, you got to do what you got to do, right? Or if you're going to rebuild, like, let's say LeBron leaves, you can't get another star, right? What if LeBron leaves after this year and he doesn't opt into that second year and he's gone, right? Now, yes, maybe you can convince another star to come, but if you don't, what do? Do you just run it back with Anthony Davis and these young guys? Especially if you didn't win a championship this coming season, right? Like, let's say they make it to the Western Conference Finals again and lose, right? And LeBron leaves. Like, do you look at it and go, man, like, LeBron's gone, we can't get another star, let's run it back? Or do you look at it and go, okay, well, we have a really young core that is really talented, really great. LeBron's leaving, that's fine. We clear up that cap space. Let's take Anthony Davis. Let's flip him into, some young package of whatever, and add that to our young core. And now we're off to the races, and maybe we can be a contender in the next, 2-3 years. That could be a possibility. I think it's really going to come down to, how does this season look, for one? How does AD look, two? And what ultimately happens with LeBron James, right? I think as long as LeBron James is on this roster, Anthony Davis isn't going anywhere, right? Anthony Davis is LeBron's guy. And they have shown time and time again, like, if you put the right pieces around them, the two of them are good enough to get you there and even win you an NBA championship, right? They are getting older, so that, of course, is a concern. They're both going to miss 30-plus games this year, but if they have a good season, like if they win the NBA championship, then Anthony Davis is going to get paid, LeBron's going to stay another year, and they're just going to run it back, right? Like, that's what's going to happen. But the concern is if they don't, right? The Lakers absolutely have a real chance of winning an NBA championship here. If they win the NBA championship, I think that makes things very simple, very easy, right? You basically bring everybody back, maybe you add another core piece or something like that, and then that's that. You're done, right? And now you're ready to try to go back-to-back if you can. But if it ends disastrously, right, and we lose in like the second round, or we run into Denver again and it's just like Anthony Davis just completely disappears and gets outplayed, or if he has a playoff run and he's just not looking good and it's just not going well, then I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers just go, all right, like, we need to get off of him before it's too late. Or if Anthony Davis gets hurt, like significantly hurt, knock on wood, I hope that doesn't happen. But, if Anthony Davis, if we get a 2020, like, if you look back, right, Lakers win in 2020. Then the following year, the Lakers were, second in the West at the time before all the injuries and everything like that. Dennis Schroeder ends up getting COVID. He was never the same when he came back from COVID. The Lakers were a plus 15.5 with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Dennis Schroeder. They had the best plus-minus differential amongst those three out of anybody in the league at that time. And then Dennis Schroeder got sick, came back, and he wasn't the same. They struggled, but they were still one of the best teams in the league. And it looked like they were going to beat the Phoenix Suns. They were up 2-1. It looked like they were about to go up 3-1. LeBron James is making Jay Crowder look like his son. Anthony Davis, they had zero answer for. They were just killing them. And you had these two just getting whatever they wanted. Anthony Davis goes down, and then the Suns end up winning, and that was it. And it hasn't been the same since, right? It's been rough. But if we can get back to being that perennial contender every year where it's like, okay, like Lakers are going to be one of the top, 3-4 teams in the league, then I absolutely think that they'll keep Anthony Davis around and they'll let him go, and let go off, not like let him leave, right? But if it gets a little tricky this year, don't be surprised if you start hearing Anthony Davis trade rumors. I don't think you'll hear it like during the season, but this offseason coming up, not this one that we're currently in, I'm talking about next year's offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing murmurs of like, hey, Lakers are looking to move off of Anthony Davis. And can the Lakers get another star? LeBron James is opting out. Like, I don't know. This could end up being our last sort of hoorah for Anthony Davis and LeBron James. That could also be why the Lakers have gotten all the young guys that they've gotten. Because the Lakers might know, like, hey, LeBron's probably leaving. Anthony Davis, if he doesn't show that he could be a number one guy, then we might need to move off of him and go a different direction. It's just a thought. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Think it's odd that Anthony Davis hasn't gotten his contract extension? Or does it make sense to you? Do you want them to extend him? Should they look to trade him? Not this season. They're not going to trade him this season. But, if things don't go well this season, should they trade him? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.